With the increasing public health crisis, the world's attention has turned to health, wellness, and quality of life. To address the issue, Danone India, in collaboration with the Confederation of Indian Industry, has jointly launched a nationwide public health awareness campaign to talk around the importance of protein and nutrition in improving the quality of life. This initiative marks the celebration of the Protein Week, which is celebrated from July 24th to 30th in India. Joining me is Himanshu Bakshi, Managing Director, Danone India. Hi, Himanshu.
Hi, Soumya.
Okay, so just to lay some little background on this, what is the agenda of the Protein Week this year?
So, Soumya, it's not something new. It's the fifth edition of the Protein Week in 2021. We started in 2017 with this whole agenda, when there was a survey done which showed that more than 70% of Indian diets are protein deficient. And that's the point we took this up as an agenda. And it's been 5 years since then that we've been amplifying the role of protein, talking about it, educating people and consumers about the role of protein. Now, while 2020, the agenda was role of protein in immunity, in 2021, we've really gone a step forward. We've used the World Health Organization questionnaire on the quality of life, which tells you how the quality of life is. Within this, physical health is one of the key components. On that, we've also assessed nutrition profiles of people through the immunonutrient calculator. Now, the findings are quite startling. If you really look at it, 46% or almost 1 in 2 people have a poor quality of life. And when I look at the nutritional status, and now that it's the protein, only 9% of people had adequate protein intake. Now that's very alarming as a statistic. I think we need to do our bit to educate people for the need of protein, and that's the reason Protein Week has taken up this initiative on the quality of life this year.
Right. Himanshu, could you delve a little deeper on the insights that you gathered through this survey?
So, as I said, this survey is done, which is the WHO survey that we have. It's the questionnaire from the WHO. We did it across 8 cities, more than 2,700 respondents. And we rated them in terms of, we asked them a few questions, which were around, physical health, which were around psychological health, which were around the environment. And finally, we also let them assess their daily intake, through a nutrient calculator. Now, if I put all of them together, I think some key findings, 1 in 2 people, as I said, have a poor quality of life. Yeah. 99, more than 90% of people feel, nutrition plays a key role in quality of life. But when I look at the protein intake as per the IDA, only 9% of people have adequate, protein intake every day. So I think these are very important statistics, that we need to look at. And this is where, Danone and Proteinex will play a key role to educate people on why protein is important and how it will help them improve their quality of life.
Right. And is there any particular reason behind picking up these 8 cities in India and leaving out probably the others?
So these are quite representative cities, Soumya, when I look at the country. So it covers almost all parts of the country, right from north, east, west, and south. And that's the reason we took all these big cities, because it gives us a fair idea of how, protein levels and nutrition levels are across the country.
Right. Okay. Himanshu, how important is it to talk about the nutrition, especially during these stressing times?
I think in the last couple of years, nutrition has become a key discussion point. I think what people have realized, especially the adult population has realized, that nutrition is extremely important to keep them healthy, in an environment where there are a lot of external, issues and challenges that we see. And last year we saw this whole talk about immunity and the role of protein in immunity. Going forward as well, I see a large dialogue, happening, amongst consumers around specific needs on nutrition. And I think that's where companies like us, bodies like the CII, and stakeholders like you also have to play a key role to keep educating people, that nutrition is important, having a balanced diet is important, and for us as well, protein in the right quantity is most important to make sure that you live a very healthy life. So I think these conversations will only increase, especially with the external environment that we see.
Right. And see, we realize that the quality of life in Indian population is quite poor. How would you juxtapose it with the global counterparts or perhaps the South Asian countries? What kind of a difference would you see there?
So, this survey was quite unique to India. So, we'll not have a clear benchmark, when it comes to how the quality of life is doing, good versus the rest of the countries. But I think one thing is for sure, when I talk about protein, intakes, and I look at different countries, especially in Europe, the US, and other countries, the protein intake is quite good. People take a lot of protein in their daily diet. As Indians, we do have a carb-rich, diet, that we're used to, and that's not, something that people are aware of, because, as I said, there are a lot of myths associated, with protein. The non-vegetarian population thinks that they're having enough non-vegetarian. That's good enough for their protein requirement. The vegetarian population thinks, milk, curd, lentils, pulses are good enough. No doubt they are very important parts of our balanced diet. But I think if I really look at the requirement per day, in spite of having all balanced diet and the entire thing that we do, we still fall short in terms of the protein requirement. So I think if I compare India to the rest of the world, yes, our protein intake is definitely low. And that's where we need to do a lot of effort, to make sure that people have adequate protein in their diet.
All right. So my next question to you, Himanshu, is with the findings of these surveys, how will Danone rejig its products or communication strategies in the coming few days?
So, if you really look at it, health through food to as many, people as possible is our global, mission that we talk about as Danone. And we've always looked at improving nutritional profiles for people through our products. Just to give you an example, we are an active partner in the Eat Right movement from the FSSAI. And every year and consistently, we've been improving our product profiles to make them more healthier. Just a recent example is our, shift to zero added sugar, when it comes to protein brand. We know sugar is a menace. So we've been continuously, increasing our nutritional profiles, making the products healthier. And I think with this survey now as well, I think two areas that I think we will be really working on. One is communication and educating people, which is something we've always been doing. So, reaching out to consumers, reaching out to our ad campaigns, digital, reaching out to healthcare professionals and sharing this data with them, partnering with CII, and the likes of FSSAI, and amplify this whole message. And also ask people, to go and use the immunonutrient calculator, which is a very easy platform online where people can go and assess their nutritional profiles. Now that's one part of it. The other one is keep working on the product portfolio to answer all nutritional needs, that we have in the country. So I think that's the two-pronged approach that we'll have, right now for this year in the protein.
Right. And I would end this interview with a rather light question here. What are the elements, according to you, that came as a surprise when you were, going ahead with this survey? Surprise.
We always knew that nutrition is a concern. We always knew that, the right balanced diet is something people need to know about. And to me personally, if I really talk about it, the last 1 year, people have made a lot of conscious choices when it comes to health.
Yeah.
I think a couple of areas which were a little, I won't say surprising, but yes, Kolkata having, the worst quality of life was a little startling to me, because I thought diet played a very important role, over there. Women, not faring too well is also the second one, I think, which is where we really need to, bring out this whole movement to make sure that, both genders get that kind of the right quality of life. So I think, yes, while overall we always knew about it, things like, Q cities, things like, the whole thing around gender, and finally, still only 9% people, having adequate protein is something which is a big worry for me.
Right. This was all for today, Himanshu. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure the audiences will have a lot of takeaways from this interview. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Soumya, for having me.